You're listening to the Tuesday Review live on 98.9 Northwest FM. I'm Nathan, as always, joined by James. How you going, James?
Not too bad, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Also joined by Callum. How you going, Callum?
I'm here.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Alan won't be joining us tonight. He was still working last time I talked to him. So
Okay.
he's got work business going on.
We had a special episode planned, but I guess we'll have to leave that for another
couple
week.
weeks,
yeah.
So we're just taking it easy this week. But first we've got a couple of announcements.
Yes.
The first being Freelance, which we talked to the director John Ballas about and discussed the movie. Comes out today,
Yes.
as of the recording.
Yeah.
So
Tuesday, January 28th.
if you listen to this episode, it's available.
Yeah. We'll link everything and all that stuff. But follow Prima Lux Films. And they'll have like more release info, but we'll put links up and all that.
I think
junk.
it's on Prime Video. Like you can.
Yeah,
rent
I'm
it
not
and stuff.
sure. Yeah, but it's out on VOD today, so definitely check that out and then listen to our review. Listen to our interview with John Ballas. That was a few weeks ago, episode 239. So check that out.
And,
Also,
we also have a release date for Rosewater.
yeah. So back in episode 194, we interviewed Francisco Gonzalez, a game developer whose point-and-click adventure game Rosewater we talked about with him, and it's now got a release date March 27. So go back and listen to episode 194 and see what the game's all about, and make sure you wishlist on Steam and all that good stuff.
We'll post about it when it comes out.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for that if you like old-school point-and-click adventure games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I guess we're taking it easy tonight, just talking about some movies we've watched. James, we'll start with James. He's watched a couple of newer films
Yes.
that might be worth talking about.
So first, when was it? I guess it doesn't really matter when it was. But yeah, not long ago, a couple days ago, on the weekend, I went to see The Brutalist.
Yes.
Which was a movie I was interested in seeing, and it was getting a lot of buzz. And, you know, I like long movies, and this movie was, everyone was talking about how, it's 3.5 hours and had a built-in intermission.
Great.
And this was part of, the whole buzz around the movie. And it looked good. It was Adrian Brody stars as a Hungarian Jewish immigrant who moves to America after World War II. And he's like an architect, and it's about him, sort of his immigrant story, moving to America in the 40s and 50s, and then, using his talents to build things and all the crazy stuff that happens to him. I really liked it. I think it's one of my favorite it's only the first few weeks of 2025, so I guess the favorite of the last 12 months since, last year. I think technically it came out in the US at the end of last year, so we'll say it's one of the best of 2024. It was really good. I think even if you didn't like the movie, because I know it's a bit divisive.
So what's it about? Just general synopsis.
I don't want to go too much.
Architect.
Yeah, I don't want to go too much into it because you get into spoiler territory, and it's like a character drama. Like it's not, the plot's not important.
But it's a period piece, right?
Yeah, like I said, after World War II, he's a Holocaust survivor. He comes to, he immigrates to Philadelphia, and he basically, starts working in his cousin's furniture store, and then he gets an opportunity to do some building work, and then that leads him to do an actual design a building, and it goes on, and it takes place over like a decade basically. But I think what's most impressive about it, and like I was saying, there's some divisive. I think most people liked it, but there's some people who really didn't like it. But whether you liked it or not, I think what's most impressive about it is it's just as on a technical level, it's incredible what they did for under $10 million. It's a 3.5 hour epic period film that
it feels and looks authentic.
Yeah, it looks great. It sounds great. it's just the fact that they did that with so little money.
Especially considering whenever you're looking at doing period pieces from like the 40s, 50s, or even earlier, the more time passes, the more expensive it gets to do.
Exactly.
Because all of the stuff that they would have used and kind of like cars and houses and clothes and all kind of design work, either you can't use period accurate actual pieces, so you have to create them.
Create things, or find, and
like
it becomes
cars,
harder and harder. Yeah. So it's really impressive for, one thing they did is they shot the whole thing in Hungary. So, even though they made it look like America, whatever, it's got American actors. But I guess that would be cheaper and they get tax credits and all that. And I think it's just a really good example on a technical level of being really smart about your budget and how you use it and how you frame certain things and how you make a film on, with restrictions, but make it feel so not lavish, but it feels like it's a big sort of Hollywood production, when in reality, it's not. It's such a very small movie. And that's just really incredible, especially when we watch these $200-300 million superhero movies where you're like, where did the money go? Because it's clearly not on the screen. Because it's all CGI garbage and this is just a waste. They paid The Rock half the bloody budget just to walk across a green screen. Like, what are we doing here? So just on a technical level, it's very impressive, even if you don't like the actual film. In terms of the actual film, I really liked it, really resonated with me. The whole immigrant story and the way he's treated as a Jewish man in America, and the way his creativity is treated as a poor immigrant, but he's very talented, and so people take advantage of that. And I just found it interesting, like the whole thing, without going too much into spoilers and stuff. Like, I was really there's this sort of art versus capitalism sort of thing, and there's also like just the nature of work and creativity, and like to make a building, you need you need materials, and you need someone to fund it, and you need workers. And so just the way the movie goes on, just made me think a lot about what goes into making these things and how it can break people down and restrict creativity. And I can't remember where I think I read this somewhere. I don't know. But the writer-director, Brady Corbett, I think he said this. Maybe it was someone else. But it was like, the main character escapes fascism in Europe and then is now crushed under capitalism in America. So it's like trading one bad thing for another almost. And especially with what's going on around the world, but in America especially recently, it's just really interesting to see, not a lot's changed since the 1940s, unfortunately.
I mean, yeah. Fascism comes in waves.
Yeah,
and capitalism has never stopped crushing people.
Yeah. So but it's an incredible film. I highly recommend. It looked fantastic, sounded fantastic. It's worth seeing on the big screen. I think we've talked about this before, but I didn't need the intermission. It's a 15-minute intermission.
Look at the big bladder on James.
Yeah, like I literally sat there, just ate my popcorn, watching the intermission tick, the timer tick down.
At least it gave you an idea of how long the intermission was, which is good.
Yeah, and it basically cuts it into two halves. So it's like an hour and 40-something minutes, and then there's a 15-minute timer that rolls down, and then there's like the rest of the movie. It's like 3.5 hour movie altogether. But yeah, for me personally, like, I didn't need the intermission, but I know a lot of people.
I probably would appreciate it.
Yeah, a lot of people appreciate it, and
also more money for the snack bar.
Yeah,
more money for the theaters. I think that's something that I would not mind intermissions, even for like any movie, if the theater wants it. Just because like theaters are in so much trouble across the world financially. I can appreciate an extra chance, especially if you're like me and you're like, get all the popcorn out of the way before the movie starts. Get that chance to quickly run and grab some extra popcorn or a drink or something.
Yeah, no, I think we talked about it with Alam and, like in Bollywood and in India, like every movie is really long and every movie has an intermission. It's just expected. But I think even in this 3.5 hour movie, I just like, it doesn't matter how long the movie is. I just feel like when you're forced to take a break, it ruins the flow for me. Like when I watch a movie, I like to watch it from start to finish without a break. Obviously, if I'm at home, I'll pause it if I have to go to the toilet or something. But otherwise, I like to watch the whole thing all at once.
How was the pacing of the film like to you?
Well, that's what's so incredible is that it feel like 3.5 hours. The pacing is immaculate. Like it's so well edited and so engaging that for 3.5 hours, I was like, wow, this really moved. But it didn't feel 3 hours.
Oppenheimer is one of those films where same to me. I was like over before. I was like, okay, now we're getting going, but see, and then it's over.
That movie also has Christopher Nolan's sort of signature like race against time. Like there's this momentum to a lot of his movies. It's like building, and the score is getting louder, and it's just like this, it's big crescendo at the end. Whereas The Brutalist is a slower, more character-driven, sort of quieter film. And yet it didn't feel rushed, even though it moved really nicely and it didn't drag. I wasn't bored. It's one of the best examples of a long movie edited in such a way and, I guess shot and scored in such a way where...
It's all about keeping interest, right?
Yeah. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who are like, this is boring, but I was on board the whole time. I thought it was a brilliant film. I really, really liked it. And it was one of those movies I was like, kept thinking about it after I saw it. I was like, really trying to get to the bottom of the themes and, what certain images meant or, so it's definitely worth seeing on the big screen. It's a great movie. Yeah.
And you also wasn't. Sorry.
No, go on.
Oh, continue.
I was going to say The Brutalist also wasn't without controversy.
Oh yes. Yeah.
So I used to be anti AI in movies, but I've kind of accepted it. I think it's one of those things that it's happening.
Yeah.
No point getting in to think about it because every movie I expect Spielberg's next movie is going to have AI in it somewhere.
Yeah, I know
it is what it is.
I know, like when we talked about. Sorry, do you want to?
Oh no, I was going to say, but the reason I'm kind of curious about The Brutalist is because it's not generative AI in the same way that is used in True Detective, for example.
Yeah, well, that True Detective is probably the worst example ever because that was just a joke. Like, they did not need to do that in any...
and then they tried to defend it. Anyway.
Yeah.
But then, there's also the Late Night of the Devil stuff and blah, 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 blah. But this one, they used it to try and tighten, I guess, the Hungarian accent.
So what's interesting is
the actors.
Yeah, so there's a lot of Hungarian language in the movie, and obviously the actors aren't Hungarian, so they didn't get all the pronunciation 100% correct. Now it's a movie, they're actors, and I'd say 99% of the audience isn't going to know fluent Hungarian and isn't going to pick up on the...
There's that one guy in every cinema who's like, that's not how you say that inflection.
Yeah. And so what they did some ADR and they used actual Hungarian speakers and they sort of mixed it all together to get the right, pronunciation of certain vowels and words and R's and whatever. But it's still apparently... according to the filmmakers, it still wasn't satisfactory. So they used some of this AI technology. I forget what the program's called, but it sort of blended all this together and made, because there is so much Hungarian in the movie, it made the process, I guess, quicker and cheaper to round out everyone's accent so it was more accurate. Now, again, it wasn't really necessary because how many people are going to... really know.
When I read that one of the articles about it, I thought to myself, in the 80s, if this film was made in the 80s, they'd have some people trying their best to do the accents. It wouldn't be great.
They'd shoot the whole thing in English with
that's all
either with no accents, or they just put on a Russian type accent. It's well, that's Hungarian enough.
No one would care.
Yeah, it's a movie.
Even the biggest Hungarian cinephiles are going to be sitting in the movies, and I don't think it would affect them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because once you sink into the reality of the film,
yeah,
it's like you. It's like what's that phrase? When you leave reality behind.
Oh, suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, it's kind of tied up with that. But it's okay, this is how they speak Hungarian in The Brutalist.
Yeah,
I accept it. Now I'm going to enjoy the film.
Yeah, unless it's distractingly bad, it's not. It's not. There's so many actors who have played characters with different accents to them, to their real life, or speak languages that they don't naturally speak. It's never been a really problem.
When Peter Baelish first appears in The Wire, his
American Aidan Gillen, is that the actor's name?
His American accent's awful.
Yeah,
but I giggle a couple of times. He'll say a certain word and it just sounds like an Irish guy putting on a really bad American accent.
Yeah, but
then you move on.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't remember the accent well enough. I've seen the show many times, but it never bothered me, I guess. So it probably wasn't a big deal. It's probably
you notice it, but then like I said, you accept it. You just move on. It's like, okay, well, that's how he sounds. That's fine.
Yeah,
it's the character is American. That's all that matters.
I think the problem with The Brutalist in that sense isn't the use of AI in terms of the Hungarian language, which, like I said, it wasn't really necessary, and, did they really need to do it? Whatever. But there's a couple of images at the very end of the movie that they use generative AI.
Yes, I heard about that.
Which, that part was confusing because I was like, that was unnecessary as well. You could have... I know it's time and money, but, I mean, you could have really hired someone to mock some pictures up in a few hours, not even so it was that part was more questionable than the language part. It's a and I defended Late Night with the Devil because that was still early in AI's thing and it wasn't that big of a deal and the movie was still really good, but it is a slippery slope.
Yeah. Like I said, I wasn't even now. If it happens, I'm not even going to be annoyed at it because I think it's the way that Hollywood is not Hollywood, but filmmaking broadly. Yeah, people are just going to look for shortcuts.
I think we discussed this as well. Whereas when it's something like Late Night with the Devil or even The Brutalist, where they're working with a lot of restrictions in time and budget, they can maybe be forgiven for some of but if you're Disney. Come on, don't, but it is a slippery slope where we're going to see it more and more. And I don't remember, but was it The Substance? There was a movie where at the end credits, it said this movie had no AI. So that might be something we see more in the future where if you want to vote with your wallet, you can look up did they use any in this movie?
What is it? It's no dogs or cats or animals
harmed in this
film. It's kind of like that. It was at the end of the credits.
On the flip side,
no robots were harmed in it.
My prophecy is that in 20 years' time, in one of the credits, we're all going to have Chief Prompt Engineer.
Yeah,
and that type of thing.
Or we'll see everything is just AI, and people are now drawn to older styles of art and this is, I guess, handmade stuff is kind of like that.
Yeah, how quiche.
Cottage core. Have you heard of this? That sort of stuff.
People I'm going to watch a vintage 90s film.
Yeah. But it's it'll be interesting to see. But I think when there are great films like this, I wouldn't discount them completely.
No.
I do understand people getting mad about it, especially artists who, need to make a living off their work and they should be paid for this work. But I think there's...
Look, like I said, I've accepted it, and the more you read about AI, it's this bullet train. It just keeps coming and coming, especially with the news today about the Chinese language models cheaper, more accessible to people at home.
Oh, it's just going to get more and more,
so, prevalent. There's no point fighting it. I don't have to enjoy it, but I'm also not going to criticize every film because I fully expect, Michael Mann's always pushing the edge of technology when he makes his films, right? I fully expect Heat 3 made in Mid-Journey. You know what I mean? Well, that's obviously this is a joke. I think I'm not literally suggesting that, but I think that there will be a time where you will get these big filmmakers will get paid out by an AI company to 100%. Produce a film using their tech.
Well, we already talked about like big studios like scanning actors and then using their likeness and then like, resurrecting dead actors or whatever. Oof. And I think it's just we're going to get more and more of that. But I think it's just an extension of what we've already seen, which we've discussed before, where whether AI existed or not, it's clear that a lot of these big budget, mainstream, bloated, CGI-filled garbage movies aren't what at least cinema lovers like us want anymore, even though the mainstream audience might want. So I think there's always going to be a market for actual, real movies, quote unquote. And then what we're seeing with the quote unquote content where they're churning out, that might become even more heavily AI and generated almost less by humans. But that's not stuff we're sort of interested in anyway. Even if it was made by humans, it feels like it's made by AI most of the time.
I think it's going to just continue separating or increasing the divide, I should say, between companies like A24 and the
Neon.
Neon. Your small to mid-budget movies, as you said, while the big studios continue into AI-driven content.
Exactly. Yeah. So, it's just we were, especially after COVID, like we were like, it's an evolving, the movie industry is changing so much and technology is evolving so quickly that it's like, it's going to just change.
Did you see Paul Schrader's comments about AI?
No.
He claims, so his opinion is that there is going to be some kind of AI revolution, maybe not visually where you can see it on screen. And I am putting words in his mouth, but this is basically what he said.
Paraphrasing,
behind the scenes. So he generated 4 movie scripts using AI.
Yeah.
And he says they were as good as any he could provide to a studio.
So
I'm guessing but that being said, I could feed all Paul Schrader's scripts into an AI machine.
Yeah. I was right about to say that. How much of it is AI-driven original work and how much of it is just recycled scripts that it's stolen?
And that's the thing. You could download all the scripts available on one of those big websites, feed it into an AI, and then be like, here's what I'm looking for. And then it'll craft you a little script.
Yeah.
So the problem isn't that one of the problems is that filmmakers might be making real films, but then screenwriters won't exist anymore.
Yeah.
I mean? It's like pushing everyone away from the arts. There's that famous meme. I wanted AI to do the hard work I don't want to do so I could work on the arts.
Yeah.
Now it's going to do the arts for us and then we have to go do our hard menial jobs.
I think the problem will be with scripts is they'll all just be quite derivative. And
they're all derivative now.
This is the thing. This is what I was just saying.
I was going to elaborate on that. The problem we're having with AIs now in terms of large language models and stuff like that is now that there's so much AI-driven content on the internet and they're still scraping this data to make the AI better, it's now learning on its own drivel. And so the AIs get worse as time goes on without new authentic material to feed to it. So it's going to be, at a certain point, it's impossible to have an AI grow without actual real world stuff feeding to it. It can't just it'll just gorge on itself and then get weird and hallucinatory and crap.
Well, we were talking off air a few days ago about the dead internet theory and that there's so much bots and AI and garbage and corporations just pushing fake stuff and fake influencers and fake this and that. And it's just, we're already seeing AI, bots, commenting on AI videos and then they're arguing with each other. And it's just we've already gotten to that point where it's the AI audience is going to go see the AI created movie.
Yeah. But then the problem is the deeper you go down that hole, the worse the product will be. because it's not being trained on anything real. So I don't necessarily think AI is going to create all the scripts for everyone just without any kind of new scripts to feed into it.
But it like Callum was saying, it's like it's this we've talked about before a while ago, like capitalism, this giant machine that just eats everything up, and it's this unfeeling, constantly moving
capitalism,
thing.
100%. I just think people give AI too much credit. That's what I think is going to happen.
No, but what I'm saying is,
AI is the next step in that capital process that the studios have been working towards. For a long time.
Like movies have already turned to garbage even without AI. Yeah. So they're just going to get more garbage with AI, and yet we're gonna be like the people in WALL-E, where we're in our hover chairs, watching this AI garbage streamed into our eyeballs, and like when most people aren't going to care or aren't going or are too busy and tired to care like about the arts or how something was made. So
I think my opinion generally is that it'll be great at the start, and then it'll be unworkable when the studios realize they can't just keep feeding it AI generated bullshit, because it'll get nonsensical.
It dumbs itself
down. Well, I guess we'll just have to wait for the bubble to burst.
And it will.
Yeah.
Well, AI wars are coming.
Well, I think we can end this little topic by quoting angry old man who yells at clouds seemingly more often as more time goes on, Quentin Tarantino. He says that the movies are officially over. The movies ended in the last year of the movies. It was 2019. And what year did Once Upon a Time in Hollywood come out? That makes me laugh. I said someone stroking his ego a bit there. The year that he released the film was the last year that the movies were real.
He's not one of those COVID truthers, is he?
Man, I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm not Google that. I don't need to know.
Yeah, I don't need to know, but I wouldn't be surprised.
But either way, he claims that movies aren't a thing anymore. And I'm like, cool story, Quentin.
We've talked about this many times before. Just shut up and make another movie. Yeah. Like you're one of the only people.
Has such privilege.
You're one of the only people in the entire history of the world who has gotten to make pretty much most of the movies you've wanted to make.
Him and Nolan. That's it.
Yeah, and now you're complaining about everything, and now you're like, I'm going to quit movies. It's like
pathetic. I'm sorry, pathetic.
And meanwhile, we bring it up every time. Meanwhile, Scorsese is like, I don't have enough time to make what I want.
Lynch couldn't fund his films.
Exactly.
Yeah. And John Scorsese, the legend himself, is like, there is not enough time.
Even like Spielberg has trouble getting some of his movies made. And he's mainstream.
You just know Spielberg's got like, when Disclosure happens, he's got the documentary ready to go.
Man, apparently, did you hear about his new script?
No.
I can't remember what the name of it was. It was like something called The Something.
It's some alien one.
Yeah, his next movie is about UFOs, and apparently someone read the script, an actor involved, and said it was a beautiful, empathy-filled, letter to humanity.
Well, hopefully he gets to make it.
Yeah,
and because
it's in the process of.
Yeah, because he was, I'm glad the Fabelmans got made, because that's
a banger.
But one, it's a banger, and two, it's not the most commercial. It's not one of his big sci-fi movies. So I'm hoping he can get this new one made, because I know he's had trouble. Do you guys remember Robopocalypse they were supposed to make? It was supposed to make this epic robot movie, and it just never got made. And I was like, why Spielberg plus robots? Like everyone would go to see that. I don't understand.
I don't know.
The reticence of
too many flashbacks from Real Steel, maybe.
Yeah, but Spielberg with a robot apocalypse is a lot different story to Real Steel, which true. I don't. Did Real Steel flop that badly that they stopped make robot, because they still make robot movies that are.
Yeah, Transformers still comes out.
Yeah, exactly. People go see that garbage. So
that's true.
Yeah, I mean.
All right, look, we have to go to a quick break, and we'll be right back after these short messages. You are back on the Tuesday Review live on 98.9 Northwest FM. Yeah, so The Brutalist, go see it.
Yep.
Don't engage with AI. We'll move on. Just very quickly, James, you also watched The Challenges, which is another movie generating some buzz.
Came out last year, so it came out a while ago, but it's up on Amazon Prime. I meant to watch it, but I didn't get a chance to see it. So I watched it last night, and it was really good actually. I wanted to see it at the cinema, but I was just, you know, when there's so many movies coming out and only a certain amount of time and money, I was just like,
you gotta pick your battles.
Yeah, I don't know if I really want to, you know, which is a shame because I really want to see a lot of movies. I really want to see as many movies as I can. Also, when a movie like this comes out, it's got Zendaya, who's a big star, especially with like the Gen Z crowd, and it's got like a sexy trailer. And as we've discussed before, the discourse around sex in films and just any sort of intimacy in films seems to be super weird lately.
I'm not telling people to go onto Twitter, but when this came... Twitter's a very different place now than it was back then. But when this movie came out, Twitter was still accessible, but it wasn't...
It's always been bad, and then...
Now it's worse.
It just gets worse and worse until now. Yeah.
I remember when challenges came out, people... There's no literacy. People were like...
Yeah, we've talked about before.
People like, Zendaya's kissing two guys. Oh, Tom Holland must be so upset. Yeah. I'm just like, do they not realize it's a fictional
It's an actor,
film?
yeah. She's an actor.
She's an actor. She's getting... It's not for real. But it like legitimately upset people. Yeah. They thought relationships were in danger. I'm like, this is a problem,
wait till they find out that Tom Holland's got back shots in some of his films.
Oh, that's one on Apple. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No one watched that one. It's kind of crazy. We've talked a lot about it before, like media literacy and stuff, and it's not just young people. I know we like to complain sometimes. I know Callum likes to do his old man routine, but I think it's a lot of just people in general of all ages, of all, you know, from all different types of places. Like they just don't get it, which is so weird. But yeah, so when there was that kind of discourse, I was just like, it even though I ignore a lot of that stuff and I stay off, I try to stay offline and I stay off social media as much as I can, and it still sort of gets in your head, and you kind of
you're still exposed to it subconsciously or not.
Yeah,
like
and you see the
headlines.
Yeah, you see the trailer. Yeah, you see the trailer and you're like, oh, maybe it is, maybe I won't like it, whatever. But I did want to see it because it's Luca Guadagnino. And Josh O'Connor is in it, who's very good.
He is very good.
And, it looked interesting. So anyway, I finally got around to watching it, and I thought it was very, very good. I thought the script was very well written. I think it's a shame that, it was getting a lot of buzz.
I think I didn't watch it because I didn't take it seriously as a movie because of all the shenanigans around.
That's what I'm saying.
I should now go back and watch it.
When stupid stuff like this happens, people get into their mind. Even someone like me who's...
Happened to me. I looked at that movie and I'm like, it's like a meme movie. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think when there's something like Saltburn, which to me sort of was a meme movie, like that wasn't, I don't think, that good.
But that also had art house Oscar bars associated with it. Like
Saltburn.
All the hipsters were like, Saltburn's so good.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is same with challenges. But it's like
I saw less hipsters behind this film on Twitter. Like it was just I saw more of the Gen Zs whinging about it.
Well, I think
Saltburn was in a weird. Saltburn's way more perverse in a weird way.
Yeah, but the challenges has Bay.
Actually, that's true. Yeah, Zendaya's in it.
But also, Challenges is an actually good film, whereas Saltburn ended up just being a meme and was like, oh, this is not actually very good. There's not a lot going on behind this, under the surface. Whereas Challenges had a lot more going on underneath the Zendaya is Bay surface level, So, yeah, I mean, it's a shame because this movie was getting a lot of buzz and, people were saying, there could be Oscars contention. And it got no nominations, not one. And we've talked about before, I hate the Oscars. They're garbage. They make no sense. It's just rich people patting themselves on the back, the industry jerking itself off. But it was watching the movie, I was like, I think this deserves a screenplay, best screenplay award. And also, I think it deserves a best original score from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, because the score in this is dope as hell.
Really?
And the Oscars is garbage, but I was surprised because I feel like it is a movie that should have got at least a couple of noms. I think 100% it should have got score at the very least.
I read an interesting thing, thread on Twitter, which I use every day incessantly.
He's an addict.
He's a doom scroller.
You know what we have to do? What's that movie, Resolution, where he ties his friend up, he handcuffs his friend to the cabin so he has to get off drugs? Called Turkey.
Right now, it's kind of just like, refresh the Twitter feed, see what Donnie's doing now. Like,
I don't know how. See, this is why...
No, anyway, so this thread, it was someone who was friends with someone who is on the Academy. And so he goes, did you vote for whatever film? And then he goes, no. And then he goes, did you watch this film? It's this. And he goes, no. Yeah. And he goes, but you're on the Academy. If you didn't watch it, how do you know you don't want to vote for it? And the person responds with, my friends were in this film, so I'm voting for that one.
Yeah, 100%.
So, but then you also get one of the other members of the Academy got asked as well, and they're like, I watch every single one because it's my duty. So that means like there are some portions of the Academy voting members who only vote for movies that their friends have worked on.
Yeah.
So sometimes you get like, I'm not saying this is the case for Emilia Perez.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. It didn't really make waves down here, at least as far as I'm aware.
It still hasn't come out, I don't think.
But apparently the general consensus online in the cinephile circles, it's a bit meh. And certainly,
it's terrible.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't deserve all the nominations.
Yeah.
And when I read that, like the nomination list, all I could think of was that quote from that guy who was like, I vote for my work on.
Yeah. It's also like, because if you're an Academy member, you get sent all the screeners, but there's only so many movies you can watch, and a lot of, they only watch a couple and then, they vote for whoever, or, again, based on vibes or, based on industry connections. Yeah, so it's all a joke. The Oscars is shit. But in saying that, if you, when a movie does get nominated, you're like, it's still a big deal. It's still, and you still want to be recognized for, some exceptional work, even though the Oscars is stupid because putting art up against each other and being like, this is better than this, your acting's better than this, stupid. But I was surprised that it got no nominations because I think...
so it was Luca. He stormed out at one point, didn't he? He didn't win for something. No, he didn't get nominated for something, and he stormed out of the building when something won. And I put
maybe
in the
this is Golden Globes or something.
Maybe I put in the chat. I'm like, how petty.
These are just the nominations.
Must have been the Globes. There was something he didn't win.
Well, it depends what he lost against. It's like the whole Spike Lee losing to Driving Miss Daisy and then losing again to Green Book, and he's just like, come on.
Look, I think that honestly, even though the Oscars are fake, I do think it's one of these things like a black tie event that everyone they all get gift bags. Everyone knows about it. I'm like, you get a nice seat at this event, you get free food and champagne, you get your gift bag. The least you can do is just smile for the cameras.
No, I think.
Again,
I think the best thing to do is to send a message and just don't show up.
Yeah,
if you're a real, like Viggo Mortensen, like he's a real artist, he's an actor. Like he gets nominated, he doesn't even show up. He's like, that's stupid. Why would you give me an award saying my acting's better than?
No, I'm not disagreeing, but I do think that temper tantrums aren't the way to go.
To an extent, it's also kind of just luck of getting the right movie.
That's the other thing, yeah.
Like your acting can be just as good as another actor's acting, but you're in a different movie that didn't get nominated.
Yeah, there's only a certain number of slots that they can get nominated for, and also it just depends on the year. Sometimes every movie is good, sometimes none of the movies are good, and it's like, I guess you got to pick. It's just none of it makes any sense.
Yeah.
And I can understand being a creative person and like if you're nominated and then someone else wins and you're like, a lot of bad movies get nominated, and could you imagine a shitty movie getting picked over your movie that you worked so hard on? I'm sure the other people worked hard on their shitty movie. But yeah, it's just the whole thing's a huge Hollywood circle jerk. And no, I understand it. But Challengers is really good. Check it out. It's on Amazon Prime, so it's easy to watch. And it's very well written, and the the performances are really good, and the score is top notch. So
excellent.
Definitely worth checking that out.
I might have to go and watch it.
Yeah.
I've got something new as well for class this week. Speaking of shitty movies, I watched Cameron Diaz's return to the film industry with Jamie Foxx in Back in Action.
Classic Nathan pick.
I mean, I know what the people want.
No.
And it's not necessarily this movie. Okay, so Back in Action is a new Netflix kind of spy film. Spy adventure action film comedy by Seth Gordon. 15 years after vanishing in the CIA to start a family, elite spies Matt and Emily jump back into the world of espionage when their cover is blown. Now, it's what you expect from a Netflix movie. It's not very good. It's okay. It's just, this is the problem where I could see AI scripts being involved almost.
Yeah.
Because it's, like a lot of Netflix kind of action spy movies, they're pretty much very derivative. They're very much the same. And the script is lazy.
Yeah.
You've seen it before.
Yeah.
Even the acting is good. The kid actors are good. McKenna Roberts plays Alice and Rylan Jackson plays Leo.
So it's like Cameron Diaz and Jamie Foxx are like a married couple who used to be spies.
Yeah.
And then they got 2 kids or whatever.
Yeah, so they got 2 kids. Cameron Diaz plays Emily, Jamie Foxx plays Matt, and they have 2 kids, Alice and Leo. And like the kids are good, but Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz, they don't have much to work with. Obviously, the script is bare bones.
Yeah,
and the story is very just kind of almost non-existent. It's just like, oh, we got to find a missing hard drive, otherwise whoever's hunting for it will kill us because they think we know where it is, and like that's it. Yeah. And it's very boring. And Glenn Close is very boring. You know, like Glenn Close is in this movie, and she has a good role.
She gets paid.
She got paid. That's one way to say it.
Yeah. That's the thing is like these types of movies, why I don't watch them and why I always sort of make fun of Nathan for watching them is like they're clearly just content for the streaming service.
100% it's content.
He's just like, oh, we got, some big name stars, so, we'll get the mums and dads who are on Netflix to click on it when it shows up in the new release section. And
I was curious with this, though, because it's Cameron Diaz's first movie in like 10, 11 years, something like that.
Has it really been that long?
Yeah. Well, she had her last movie was like 2014. And she took a break, and this is her first movie back.
Yeah.
And so I thought, it could be interesting. I'll give it a go. It was not good. I much prefer, if you want a Jamie Foxx Netflix movie, I much prefer Day Shift with Snoop Dogg.
Was that vampire movie?
Yeah. But that's fun.
Never saw that.
That's fun. So you'd probably enjoy that.
That one looked like content as well.
But it's fun content.
Okay.
Of course it's content. It's on Netflix.
Yeah. No, but they were great. Like Rebel Ridge was great, and that was a real movie, and that was unfortunately only on Netflix.
It's still content.
No, but I'm talking about there's a difference between, like...
There's films that we want action...
Yeah, Marriage Story was straight to Netflix. That was one of the best movies I've seen last 5 years.
Here's the difference.
Yeah. Content is this Back in Action.
No. Marriage Story is 100% content. What I'm saying to you is content is movies that we think is dumb. But there's probably like some 50-something-year-old out there who saw the movie was like so much better than Rebel Ridge.
I'm going to disagree with you softly because I think, in my mind... Content is Netflix sitting there and saying, we want action spy movie for 2025. We want this
generic.
They'll worry about the story later.
Yeah. Whereas something like Marriage Story,
they
Rebel
approach
Ridge,
the director
Okja,
and be like, make us a movie.
Yeah, it's like a filmmaker who wants to make a movie who's like, I'm going to Netflix because they're going to give me the budget or whatever. So it's a separate thing. It's just like...
But what did more people enjoy?
But that doesn't matter. Like we just said, Transformers makes $1 gajillion every time they fart one out, but those aren't good movies.
If Netflix had to rely on Marriage Stories alone, the business would probably crumble.
No, but that's not the argument.
That's not the argument.
No, what I'm saying is like our use of content. If a movie is made for streaming, I would automatically consider it content.
Well, would you prefer I use a different term then? Like
No, I'm saying like content can be good is what I'm saying. Like we use the term content. What I'm saying is content that we like.
I think we would call film. We're also talking about two different things.
We're not. I understand what you guys are saying.
No, I don't think you are, or at least
we keep saying like it's all in the eye of the beholder. What I'm saying to you guys is that someone would watch this top 10 Netflix film, which we would call content, and to them that would be so much better than Okja.
But that's my point. So so that's I'm not saying that because it's content and the sort of normies and the mums and dads love it so much and it's the #1 rated movie on Netflix, that doesn't make it like Marriage Story was Noah Baumbach writing, directing a movie that he wanted to make, that he was going to make, I guess taking it to Netflix or Netflix bought it, I don't know, whatever, and was releasing it. Yes, technically it's content for their streaming service.
That's all I'm saying.
However, Back in Action with Cameron Diaz was a generic script that
do we know it
was laying around. Come on, Callum.
No, what I'm saying is, like, how do you know it's just not a shitty script?
Well,
that they decided
it was
to
a
make?
shitty script
Either way.
that the turnaround was probably very quick, and that they farted it out.
They filmed it in like 20 days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, they got the two big names. It's like they're two different sort of things just because they're both on a streaming platform. One is clearly just there to fill out the roster, whereas another one was like, this is a movie. An actual movie.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know, but what I'm saying is, like,
I see where you're coming from.
I feel like I just feel like we've been a little harsh today. But like, content.
No,
is
I think it's 100% fair. When there's all these, we just talked about how bad Hollywood movies are now.
I think maybe we're not, I guess,
expressing it well
enough.
Yeah.
But I see where James is coming from and 100% agree.
No, I'm not oblivious to the point you guys are making. All I'm saying is that I feel bad because most people will watch a movie like Marriage Story and be like, boring. And then, like, you know, like...
Yeah, but that's fine. I mean, if you don't like it, you don't like it. If you like it, you like it.
We're not trying to argue
what I'm
that
saying is
point,
I'm just talking about, like, content as a general thing that the streaming services are pushing out. I'm like... you know, like, yeah, we watch, not so much me, but Nathan watches a lot of these top 10 films.
Yeah, but I'm very aware that they're
garbage. But like, some of them are not bad.
No, they're not all bad. But that's also not the point.
But that's not the point. It's like...
I'm just defending. That's all. I'm just saying, like...
No, I know. We're getting off track anyway. But look, Back in Action, it's not the greatest movie. I didn't have a great time with it, I'll be honest. It's one you can miss. I did like Jamie Demetriou. He was good as Nigel.
Okay.
But he plays like a kind of a guy who wants to be a spy. And he's very funny. But other than that, it's a movie you can miss. Also, another movie I haven't had the chance to talk about before we run out of time is...
So I just want to say, a good example of content as well is movies that you can put on in the background, which I think Netflix is definitely aimed these type of movies, whereas something like Marriage Story, like, you wouldn't put that on the background. Like, it's not... Yeah.
Not unless you're going through stuff.
Yeah. Another kind of one I think people should watch is Saturday Night. That's come out on Netflix, I believe.
Has it?
Yeah, I think so.
In Australia?
I don't know.
That's
I think
weird.
so. I've seen it on one of the streaming services.
I'll have to go on there because, I wanted to see that one.
Yeah, it's good.
The Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. I really, really liked it. I thought it was extremely well made and constructed of a film. Like, there are moments that... There's movie magic in that film with the way they present the film, because there's so many different characters and moving parts, and there's so many long takes, whether they're actually long takes or just cleverly edited.
Yeah.
And like the director was talking about how much of a ball ache it was to actually film some of these shots, because they had to know where all the actors are at all different times, and actors had to be ready, and there's got like 100 extras each doing their own thing in like a one take. So you had the organization was incredible in this film.
Yeah.
And it is kind of it's a very impressive to watch. Even if you're not a big fan of Saturday Night Live, which I like it.
Yeah.
It's just a very good movie.
Okay.
And
I've heard mixed things. Some people like it's really good. Some people like it's really bad.
It's probably very authentic because Chevy Chase hated it.
But he hates everything. Yeah. So
that
doesn't really mean anything. Yeah.
But Dan Aykroyd liked it.
But Dan Aykroyd likes everything.
He's the opposite.
Yeah. I want to see that. I'm trying to catch up on some of the movies I missed over the last year.
But I liked it. I think you would like it too.
And just every time I went to see it, I was like, I don't know if I have the time.
It has our man of the moment. What's his name? Willem Dafoe's in it too. He's good in it.
And Philip Seymour Hoffman's son.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in it.
That's the only other one I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
Anyone else have anything?
Oh, I've got more, but I think we're out of time.
We're just about out of time.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to end it.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone. please like and share the Tuesday Review on Twitter and the Meta platforms.
It's really hard when we're trying to grow an audience and do our show and, you know, connect with people.
And then Twitter and Meta is just like, you could be racist again.
Yeah, it's just like, we're Nazis now, deal with it. And it's just like, if it wasn't for the show, I would be 100% off these platforms. But we've got them open, so you can follow us there.
You can find us there.
I'd recommend deleting those and following us on Newsmast or Blue Sky.
Yeah, we're also on Blue Sky.
For the moment, are not as problematic.
We're also on Newsmast and Blue Sky. Follow us there specifically.
Yeah.
You know what? We might even post on the Meta and the Twitters.
That's a good idea.
Like, follow us on Blue Sky.
Yeah.
Like, please.
Yeah. Delete this garbage where you're seeing this and go and follow and go on the other place.
We're also on YouTube at Tuesday Review AO on all platforms currently. Please give us a review. 5 stars.
Yeah. Rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen, because it'll help us grow and more people to find us.
We're also on Letterboxd. I'm Nathan B _90.
I am channeldrifter, all one word.
And I'm Callum Tuesday.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back next week. Adios, cousins.